Hi guys, I'm Tom Koo from the Tom Koo Life channel, and today we have a very special guest. His name is Seth Shapiro, and he's the head of AlphaNetworks, which is a venture capital. So very nice meeting you, and thank you very much for the interview.
Nice to meet you, Tom.
Okay, so can you just start with a very brief introduction of yourself and Alpha?
Yeah, I've been working in technology and media in LA for about 25 years.
All right.
I've worked with most of the studios and networks on sort of the newest digital platforms, whether it was tablets or the first gaming, the first games out of the studios,
Right.
first interactive TV service, and now we're building basically a Netflix-like service on the blockchain powered by Watson AI with IBM.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. And what does Alpha do? Is it like an incubator, accelerator? What is it?
No, it's actually a media service. It's actually a content service that uses a token for people to be able to buy shows like this or other things, or subscribe to different services. We actually pay people to watch ads, so we've actually created a token economy for the media industry and a super powerful media platform with IBM powered by AI.
Okay, and the name of the, I mean, it's actually a company, right? It's not a project, right?
It's a company called AlphaNetworks, but
Okay.
we're also doing a private sale, so
All right.
yeah.
All right, so how's it going on so far? Because you're competing against the big companies like Netflix or these video streaming services, right? I mean, how's it working?
Well, we're not really competing with Netflix directly. We're a flea compared to Netflix, but there are things that we can do that you couldn't do if you didn't have a token. So, and there are also genres. So, for example, we're doing a lot of this kind of stuff, like really high quality crypto and blockchain related content with different studios around the world. That's a 24/7, 365 story. The traditional financial markets open, and then 7 hours later they close. They're closed on weekends.
Right.
They're closed on holidays. The crypto market moves around the world. So, for example, if we were live today, we haven't launched yet, but I think it would be amazing covering the sell-off, coming to Seoul. What's your perspective on the sell-off? Go to New York. What's the perspective on the sell-off here? So we're going to be covering that story very extensively with great people. We're also doing a whole range of custom documentaries on the future. We're doing music programming. We're doing esports programming, all sorts of really cool stuff. And in terms of partner, the size of the company, even though we're a startup, we are partnered with IBM, which is obviously a pretty large company.
Right. I mean, what is the role of IBM in this, whole picture?
Yeah, that's a great question. So IBM has a tech stack that is very powerful, similar to Netflix, but they run, for example, HBO Europe, HBO Scandinavia runs on the same platform that we're building AlphaNetworks on, although we're adding other things to it. So really, what happened was about 2 years ago, I built a lot of these kind of services for media companies, and IBM's invited me out to dinner and said, listen, in confidence, we're buying a bunch of these tech stacks, and we're going to put it into the same business unit as Watson, and we're really interested in the overlap of video and AI, which is something I'm interested in too. So they said, we'd love if you could kind of think about something really innovative we could do together. And around that time, I had gone really down the rabbit hole on this stuff, joined a fund, and had been thinking about what's a really cool, meaningful thing that you can do with the blockchain for media. And a lot of it has to do with creating more efficient payment mechanisms, giving the data back to the creators, telling them, you got 237,000 views this month, your episode 5 trended really well, and in this market, your episode 3 fell off after 47 seconds. So we can actually train AI and the various APIs to essentially give creators all sorts of information on how to grow their viewership in ways that has never happened before.
Okay, so mostly you users are social media kind of content creators, influencers. Are they our main users?
So we're looking for really high quality influencers so we can help with the platform, but also we're dealing with some of the best documentary filmmakers in the world as well. And to cover, crypto is a good example, but there are other topics that are sort of under-recognized. There are other, genres that haven't been fully covered, certainly by the traditional media business. So the ability to actually compensate people monthly in a token so that directly they're getting compensated for the actual views that they get, we think that's something that's going to be interesting to a lot of people as time goes on. And digging into actually creating the economy around that, it's actually a lot of work. You have to factor a lot of things. So for example, if your show blows up, which hopefully it will, and then you threw some love or did a collab with another influencer and you helped them rise up, we would actually give you very meaningful bounties for that. We would actually pay you to promote another influencer because it's good for the whole network. So sort of bringing that philosophical aspect of the blockchain to the content community, where media can be very, as you know, siloed and competitive. People don't share data. We want to create a system that's about the reverse of that, where we all kind of rise up together.
Okay, that's very cool. And but crypto is only one aspect, right? I mean, you have various other aspects. What about the entertainment? Like Hollywood, you know.
Yeah, well, like for example, I mean, I think K-pop is an extraordinary, you know, genre here and in Japan and China. We don't see that much of it in the West, so it would be really great to develop a K-pop genre format that could be exportable to the rest of the world. There are a number of genres like that we really want to look at, and we want to spend more time specifically in this market because Korea is such a great content company, such an amazing television community, right, so creative, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your long-term, like mid-term to long-term vision, you know, of AlphaNetwork?
Yeah, that's a great and creative content creators being able to find a home where they can be compensated meaningfully for their work, find new audiences, where audiences can find great new content, and where everybody feels like they're having fun and being rewarded in this sort of global platform that's not a Hollywood thing. It's a thing that travels with the day, you know. It's Eastern, it's Western, it's from Seoul, it's from Hong Kong, it's from LA, it's from New York. Just one big global conversation around good content.
And I think, are you then in a direct competition to Steemit?
No, well, you know, it's a good question. We study Steemit a lot, and Dan Larimer did some amazing things. I think the two major differences are Steemit is text, and we're video, and Steemit is more about thumbs up and thumbs down and your personal vote, whereas we're driven by actual video views, because it feels to us like most media deals are about some deal that gets done ahead of time and an actor gets paid based on what their agent negotiates. We want to create an economy where people actually get paid for the video views that they gathered, where we can share that information and show them how they're doing in different markets, and then look at the trends and help them grow their businesses. So I think Steemit is just a very different thing, but you know, obviously we're big fans of Dan and everything he's done.
Okay, then I mean, where does your profit comes from?
Well, we sell services, so we sell it in tokens. So subscribers come in and they buy access to subscription. They can buy a la carte pay-per-view events. So for example, you have some videos on our platform, but then you want to sell a subscription to your other content, you can sell it right from our platform. If you wanted to have a tip jar, you could do that. If you wanted to have a concert or a pay-per-view event, you could do that. So we're actually lighting up different ways for creators to be able to offer more products for sale. Like right now, if you're on YouTube, it's all advertising. If you're on Netflix, you're just getting a lump sum. If you're on iTunes, there's a 70-30 split, but it's all transactional. So we want to put all of those mechanisms on one platform and then go to creators and studios and producers and say, what else would you like to see? Because when you unlock creative people to do more creative work, you always see good to come out of that, and that's where we want to take this platform.
Okay, and I mean, what is the main problem that you focused on when you kind of, you know, designed, you know, AlphaNetwork, when you thought about, you know, the concept?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one of the big ones is that creators generally don't get a lot of data back. So we have friends that have a number of shows on Netflix, for example, and Netflix, even though they have a very robust data system, they don't share that information back with the creators. It's proprietary to Netflix. We want to actually build systems where we share all the information we gather back with the creators. Obviously, we protect all of the personal data of the users of the system, but we can tell you, wow, your episode number 7 killed it in the Philippines. We see that whenever you cover this particular topic or that particular topic, we're seeing a massive spike in your numbers. This video, for whatever reason, did not do well in these markets. So we can actually use data, APIs, AI, to essentially create a more efficient system where we can help you basically grow your business as a content creator.
Okay, so
and reach more audiences, which is good for us because that's our economy and you're inside of our kind of world when you're there. So the more views you get, the better it is for us too.
Right. So I mean, your system is already up and running, right?
It has not launched yet. It's built. We're building it with IBM, but it has not launched yet.
Okay, when is the start date?
Q1, end of Q1 next year.
Okay, that's pretty close. Yes, I mean, are you making like, you know, progress according to plan?
Every day. I mean, I'm here in Seoul obviously today to be here with BRP, our friends at BRP, but I mean, when we're home, we're working 17 hours a day on this. It's exciting, yeah.
So what about the, not the content creators, but the other side, you know, the viewers, for instance, you know? I mean, they will provide you with a lot of invaluable data, right? I mean, when they see it, how much they see it, for instance, how much they concentrate on one episode, for instance. I mean, do you compensate for that?
Well, that's a great question. So what we're building out one by one is different ways to compensate viewers for behaviors that help the network. So for example, with targeted advertising, we'll actually pay viewers to watch ads that help create a conversation, and hopefully they're entertaining ads. So we help advertisers find audiences that are interested in them, so that advertising stops becoming a punishment, something that you're trying to avoid, and it actually becomes a source of information that's valuable to you. So that's a big one. As I said, like, anybody who brings somebody else into the network would be compensated a pretty significant way for that. So if you actually recommend AlphaNetworks to somebody else and they sign up, we give you a very significant bounty for that. And we're coming up with more ways to reward the audience as we go.
Okay, because I had an interview with a project called Content Creators or something, because they already was running a thing called Watch or Play. And what they were trying to do is actually they wanted to kind of solve the problem with Netflix, all these contents, produce middle platforms, because Disney, they sell the content to them, but the problem was that Netflix, they don't. I'm not sure, but what he told me is that they don't collect actually these meaningful kind of viewership data. And Disney or all other producers say they kind of cut their access to these invaluable data. You understand what I'm saying, right? But in your case, you're actually providing those invaluable data to the content creators.
We're specifically developing the most useful data that we can for content creators. That's a big part of our mission, and that's part of the project that we're doing with IBM. And then looking at, for example, the ways in which you asked about users, like, if we can learn that somebody like you likes this piece of content and this piece of content, but not that one, and we can begin to sort of look at what a large population of users like, then we can help create more of that content. We can help create a system based on sort of the content that people want, and that sounds maybe like an obvious thing, but it's actually not. He reads a script, thinks it's a good movie, okay, let's do this. To actually begin to generate a map around what kind of users like specific areas of content, and then look for more content that's like that, is actually a pretty cool thing when it's data-driven, not just instinct-driven.
Right. But do you share that information with the producers?
Yes, 100%.
And do they have to pay for it, right?
No, we give it to them. We give it to them as it's a benefit of working with us.
Okay, so I think that the major success factor of your project, of your network, will be expanding the user base, right?
Expanding the user base, and people have to like the stuff. So on any platform, no matter how good it is technologically, if people don't like the content or the programming, then it's dead. So I think with one of the things that's interesting to me about a lot of blockchain projects is they may be done by really intelligent people, but if you never worked in the content business, it's a pretty specific business, working with talent and shooting and production and all that. So you actually have to have content that people want, or they're not going to come back. So I think a big part of it is you have to have the content. And then, we want to make the actual user experience more fun, more gamified, more points-based, more of I think that in the future, video platforms need to feel more like games. They need to be more interactive. They need to be more fun and less dry. So that's a big part of it as well.
But at the beginning, I think there's a lack of kind of incentive to the users to join your platform and actually view these contents created. What do you think about that?
Say again?
I think that at the beginning, I think the incentive for the viewers to actually join your platform and kind of get engaged with the contents and leave their reviews, whatever. That seems to be a little bit little to my view. What do you think about that? You understand what I'm saying, right?
What are the incentives for them to do it?
For the viewers.
Well, we have to have something that they want that they can't get somewhere else, or they're not going to come.
Right.
So that's why areas like crypto, where there's a larger install base of people who go to YouTube and are kind of continuously disappointed because most of the stuff isn't that great, assembling the better people like you and others, the better crypto people in one place. I think that'll be a value add. And then there's other areas like that we're working on where we can bring a fan base of a specific genre in, and then it happens over time. We watched Netflix do it. It didn't happen overnight. No network begins to really explode overnight. It's an evolution.
Right.
You find fans of this, and then you expand and you expand and you expand.
Right.
So we've done that before, and we're looking forward to doing it again.
All right. Okay. But I mean, what kind of help are you providing to these content creators to actually promote their contents and kind of grow very rapidly?
Well, part of the nice thing about the crypto communities, you've got mechanisms like Telegram and social media that you can use in a certain way to do things like bounties, where you can actually reward, again, network behavior. So we can promote things and give people rewards, and that's one way to get them in. And then we can find influencers who we know are sort of akin to other content. So we can promote content to fans of one thing that we believe from our data will be fans of another thing. So you just want to market in a more intelligent, targeted way rather than just buying billboards and hoping for the best.
Right. So, I mean, I think that, the payment, the token economy is a very big part of the blockchain technology implemented.
Right.
But is there any other kind of, usage like for data storage, for providing, data ownership, giving it back to the users, for instance? I mean, is there any other usage other than, the token economy?
Well, one big part of it is making advertising efficient. Advertisers know that they're spending these huge amounts of money and they never really know what advertising works.
Right.
So to be able to make that traceable, and I think, again, to make advertising less annoying and to make it, so if I'm a crypto person and I get a Trezor ad that's well produced, that's actually useful to me, right? If I get information about different wallets or different trading platforms that are something that I'm interested in, and those advertisements are well produced and informative, that's not annoying, that's actually good. Like if you think about fashion magazines, people buy fashion magazines as much to look at the ads as they do to read the articles. Right, so we want to create, especially with our partner Radical Media, who are excellent at this, we want to create content that is, with brands and other ways, that sort of goes into the future where we combine information and entertainment in new and interesting ways.
Okay. I mean, I'm a little bit lost because, I think that always that, actually the advertisement is the hardest part in the business because, you have to really target, find the right customers who's actually going to give kind of, some interest in that advertisement, right? Because in my case, I see YouTube and ad is always skip, 3 seconds, I just skip it. I mean, how you going to overcome that? Solely by...
Well, because that's, I would say, not such an effective, efficient advertising mechanism. When you have pre-roll ads, first of all, people hate pre-roll ads, and they hate particularly unskippable pre-roll ads, so I don't know that that's a mechanism that you'd want to duplicate. I would rather give people something that they like more, like pay them to watch ads or give them the ads that are more relevant to they want. Like I said, if you're a big crypto trader and I can show you a new exchange platform, whether you buy it or not, that is a useful ad to you. When I worked on the launch of TiVo, the DVR platform many years ago, we tried all sorts of things. So as an example, if you've had 4 BMWs and I show you a video ad for a Prius, to you that might be super annoying.
Yeah.
But if I show that same BMW portfolio ad to somebody who's had 4 BMWs, that's not annoying, that's welcome information. And
right.
So I think what the media business has not been so great at is finding ways to give people information instead of punishment.
Okay. Then I think I have to raise the challenging question because a lot of blockchain projects are actually dedicated to give back the ownership of the data to the users because of the likes of Facebook or Google. You know that story, right? Because they're just taking away your data without compensating you. I mean, they take it for granted. I mean, in that sense, I mean, isn't it very similar to these big boys?
Well, actually, no. So what we do is all of the information that relates to you as a person is strictly segregated. So that information, we don't even see it. It lives in a system with another vendor who maybe takes your credit card or whatever. But none of the personally identifiable information about you ever comes to us. We would never share that with anybody else. It doesn't even enter our record system. So we basically start to look at you as a collection of behaviors, but we don't know that you're you. You're a user who watched this and this and this and this, but that's not connected to your address or your information or anything else. So, I mean, our blockchain businesses that are about identity management and keeping people's persistent, I think those are great, and I would support those, and we would be happy to work with one of those. But in the meantime, what we don't do is actually look or share any of your personal information.
Okay. So then the data collection is also done by blockchain. I mean, encrypting it, and only those people who have the private key can kind of access it? Is that kind of infrastructure set up, or?
Well, I mean, it depends. So if, for example, in our service, you can actually sign up using a credit card, and then that fiat is converted into crypto. In that system, there's actually a standard billing system that information would live in, but it would basically, only the hash data would pass back to us, so we wouldn't know anything about you as an individual, like your name or your age or your social security number or whatever. We don't want to know. We don't want to be in a position where that information could be passed on to anybody else. We certainly would never sell it to advertisers or anything like that. Now, part of what you could do in certain of these situations is people can sometimes want to share their information. Like, let's say there's something, concert tickets or different things where people's mailing addresses are necessary to fulfill something, somebody buys something. So then you can just simply ask people, hey, we respect your privacy, we do not traffic in your personal information, but if you want to fulfill this transaction, please click here to acknowledge and allow the information to flow through the system. So that's a choice that viewers make, and I think that's fine in the way that it should be, but other than that, the information shouldn't be in systems like that.
Okay, then to make the, because you mentioned about it already, and to make the content creators work more effective, you're going to provide them with data, right?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that personal data?
No. It's aggregated information. So if we were to say that somebody got 119,000 views in Seoul, and that the average age or the gender breakdown or the age breakdown, or what else on average the same people who liked you, what else did they like? That has nothing to do with who those people are. So we can say 119,000 people like this, but that we wouldn't even know who those 119 people are. In other words, there would be people in the system, but we wouldn't know their names or their social security numbers or their phone numbers or anything. They're just sort of records in the system, but we keep all the personally identifiable information away. So we would never share that.
Yeah.